It is the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. This is KTN Prime. Good evening and welcome.
Indeed, we have great news lined up for you, and we start right now.
Now we begin right here in Nairobi, where the National Assembly has in the last few hours passed a motion that could set the stage for Kenya's withdrawal from the Rome Statute, that is, the international treaty that created the ICC.
And the stormy session was marked by shouting matches and an eventual walkout by court legislators. But in an apparent bid not to provoke the court, the motion was amended to signal Kenya's willingness to fully cooperate in the ongoing cases.
KTN Samogina covered the afternoon drama.
Mr. Speaker,
the National Assembly has essentially set in motion withdrawing of the country from the Rome Statute in a fiery parliamentary session. The House approved the amended ICC withdrawal motion to sanitize its actions, not to antagonize the court.
We invited ICC to come here. They never came here on their own. The mover of this motion, Mr. Speaker, voted to send these cases to the ICC.
I voted for a local tribunal and is aware of it. But Mr. Speaker, let him not play around. Can he tell the nation why Kenya should stick with ICC?
you Africans, you members of the 11th Parliament, must remember this. Don't be captives of emotion, prejudice, bias. Don't suffer from any defeat. Seize the moment, and this is your time.
Jubilee Alliance crystallized support for the motion as CORD fired salvos, blasting the ruling alliance of misplaced priorities. CORD charged the country was facing serious issues, but the National Assembly was reconvened on a trivial matter that risks complicating cases facing the three accused persons.
This case should go to the Guinness Books of Records, Mr. Speaker, because no other president, Mr. Speaker, sitting president, Mr. Speaker, has been arraigned in a court of, leave alone a foreign court of law, Mr. Speaker.
When you are faced with issues of crimes against inhumanity, human rights is universal.
CORD coalition in protest walked out of the stormy chambers after a bitter exchange with their Jubilee rivals.
Honorable. Those of you who should withdraw.
The judiciary may have been reformed, but the occupants of those offices are as the same. They are as bad as you. They think like you. They are just thieves like you. That's who they are, and that's who you are. Mr. Speaker, yes, you are thieves. That is why the country is failing. You are thieves. That is why the country is failing. Yes.
Order, members.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm to the nation that the owners of ICC have walked out. Mr. Speaker, the owners of the project ICC have walked out.
Meanwhile, the prosecution has added 2 more witnesses to testify against Deputy President William Ruto. In granting the prosecution's request, the 3-judge bench directed the identities of the witnesses to be revealed to the defense teams of Ruto and Joshua Sang by midday on the eve of the trial's commencement. Despite Ruto's defense team objection to the late addition of the witnesses on account of irreparable prejudice to their case, Bensouda's office claimed its actions were precipitated by circumstances outside the court. Bensouda made a first application to add the witness on the 2nd of August 2013, but it was rejected, repealed the decision on 13th August, and made another application on the 22nd of August for the second witness. Samogina, KTN.
Now that story by Samogina forms the basis of our BQ tonight, and we ask you, do you support the move by Parliament to pull Kenya out of the ICC? Do you support the move by Parliament to pull Kenya out of the ICC?
Now we have a new short code number tonight, so please do take note of that when you send in your comments. Start with a yes or no, followed by a brief comment to our new short code number tonight. That's 22155. That number again is 22155. Remember to begin with a yes or no for your opinion to count tonight. And also, if you are getting in touch with us on Twitter, that handle is at KTN Kenya. You can tweet me at Yvonne Okwara or at Wilson_Mburu. Now, hours before the debate in Parliament, the government announced what it says is the ultimate payout to all IDPs that have been living in camps since the post-election violence. The government says the camps will all be closed on the 7th of September, that is this Saturday. And as Betty Kyalo reports, each household will receive 400,000 shillings to cater for their resettlement.
3.3 billion is the money that will hopefully see all internally displaced persons who have for the last 6 years not been resettled begin rebuilding their lives. According to the Cabinet Secretary, 8,000 IDPs are set to receive 400,000 shillings and an additional 10,000 shillings each to cater for their relocation from the camps to their desired resettlement locations.
The head of the household and their spouse will be the joint signatories to the account where this money has been deposited.
3 camps in Eldoret, 1 in Mai Mahiu, and another in Kapkembu will officially be closed this coming Saturday.
The money we are giving is by no means going to compensate for the suffering that they have endured, but it will help them to move on with their lives as they see fit.
Apart from the 8,000 IDPs who are listed as beneficiaries, there are a number of families living in Pipeline IDP camp in Nakuru who say they were displaced during the clashes, but they are not on government records. They say at the time of the IDP registration, they did not have documentation that was needed. Here, they continue to live in abject poverty, hoping that they too will be included in the beneficiaries list.
Tushakuwa nje ya area ama sisi wageni tumekuja, tulianza mwanzo mpaka sasa wanahesaje kututupa.
Sisi tujai nini peleko pahali tumekaa tu hapa uwanja ndege tunaambiwa tusubiri mpaka wale tujaipata kitu.
It has been 6 years since thousands of families lost their households, having been forcefully ejected from their homes. And with this latest move by government, it is the hope of many that the IDP issue will be fully settled. Betty Kyalo, KTN.
Over now to Transmara, where last night fighting saw 1 person killed and 16 houses burnt as members of the 2 communities living in the area continue to attack each other. Narok County Commissioner Farah Maalim had a meeting with the 2 communities earlier today as women and children fled their homes for fear of more attacks. Sharon Momanyi has the latest from Transmara.
1 person was last night killed and 16 houses torched as more than 50 families fled their home in Transmara after a night of retaliatory attacks between the 2 communities living along the borderline. Efforts are ongoing to see the return of peace in Lakwenyi village. Village, Transmara West District in Narok County, following the inter-clan clashes between the 2 communities. Narok County Commissioner Farah Maalim today held a meeting between the 2 communities with an aim to pacify the area.
Kenyans must learn to respect each other and to live in peace together. This is our country, these are our people. Our service as security officers, as senior government officers, is service to Kenyans and not service to ethnic groups.
There has been tension between the 2 communities who also dispute over land matters, claiming there are individuals who own more than 1 title deed. The clashes have also led to the close down of the local Takitech Primary School. Sharon Momanyi, KTN.
Now, a judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya has, for the first time, admitted that Raila Odinga's 900-page affidavit that was rejected in the March petition may have tilted the outcome of the case had it been allowed. Judge Mohammed Ibrahim has, however, maintained that the strict constitutional timelines on presidential election petitions forced them to rule as they did. KTN's associate editor, Noah Otieno, has more.
When, on the 26th of March this year, the Supreme Court of Kenya threw out the 839-page bundle of affidavits presented by Raila Odinga against the election of Uhuru Kenyatta as president, many felt Raila's petition had effectively been dealt a fatal blow. Now, a judge who was on that bench has revealed why Raila suffered that fate.
By the time you file the petition, you file the petition on the information and the arguments you have. You don't file a petition, however strict the time is. You don't file a petition, say this is a tentative, and now I'm doing this, then I'll bring in evidence. The substantive and main petition is grounded on the initial petition.
When Justice Philip Tunoy read the crushing ruling on the 26th of March, one could have heard the proverbial pin drop not just inside the Supreme Court courtroom, but in many corners of the country as well, where Kenyans watched or listened to the pre-trial conference.
We have gone through the affidavits and exhibits and find that the bundle contains 839 pages, all inclusive. We find that the further statements, and in particular the intended additional evidence, including exhibits, are so detailed that the remaining time before the trial is not reasonably adequate for the respondent to file any reasonable answer.
And now, Justice Ibrahim says no one should blame the Supreme Court judges for the decision to disallow what was, in essence, the backbone of the Raila case.
I blame the 14 days. Kenyans should consider amending that section. Otherwise, we may have to live with it.
This is what Justice Ibrahim was talking about. Article 140, Part 2 of the Kenyan Constitution specifically limited the duration of a presidential election petition, saying that within 14 days after the filing of a presidential election petition, the Supreme Court shall hear and determine the petition, and its decision shall be final.
If we allow the additional evidence, it was called 1800-page affidavit, it would have changed the character, I can assure you. I believe that it would have been impossible to conclude and determine the petition.
Justice Ibrahim Mohammed was responding to questions from lawyers attending a conference of the East African Law Society at the Kenyan coast. Now, KTN Prime.
Now to the hospital that has received a lot of backlash from Kenyans. The Bungoma District Hospital, which is at the center of a patient mistreatment saga, is now blaming KTN for the report, which it says has tarnished its name.
Now, the medical superintendent lashed out at our report as the Bungoma governor, Ken Lusaka, vowed to ensure action is taken against the culprits.
On Thursday, Bungoma District Hospital received a special delegation. Bungoma Governor Kenneth Lusaka and Bungoma County Executive Member in charge of health, Grace Hayota, arrived to assess the state of the hospital. An exclusive report aired by KTN had showed an expectant mother delivering on the floor in this hospital, while nurses watched, only stepping in to scold her. The delegation now seeking to get to the heart of the claims. And while the county health representative admitted that the incident had occurred as reported,
yes, the incident took place. As a county government, we do apologize.
The hospital's medical superintendent, Mulianga Egesa, would take a hard stance. He lashed out at KTN and defended staff, saying they were working round the clock to put matters in order.
And I read a very unfortunate statement in the press today that phones have been confiscated. If that is true, that is illegal, it is wrong, it is primitive. And if any phones have been confiscated from patients, they should be taken back.
There is no heroism in running out of your mother's house and telling your village mates that my mother is naked. There is no heroism in that.
Following the incident, 4 nurses were suspended. This perceived as a first step towards addressing the problems facing patients at the hospital. The governor went on to suggest that medical practitioners who had worked at the hospital for years be transferred to other workstations as investigations into the incident continue.
If you think you don't like the face of Dr. Kesa, don't bring it here. It can be settled elsewhere.
Meanwhile, the Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya has added its voice to those condemning the hospital for its treatment of the expectant woman who was forced to give birth on the floor. FIDA now wants the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board and the Cabinet Secretary for Health to take action against the healthcare providers involved in the incident. Health Cabinet Secretary James Macharia has put together a team to investigate the incident before any action is taken. Wilkista Nyabwa, KTN.
Environmentalists are raising the alarm over what they see as an illegal excision of Ngong Forest in favor of a private developer. The developer is seeking to build a business park worth 4 billion shillings right in the middle of the forest. Linda Ogutu reports on that forest row.
I'm doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do.
In her own way, the late Wangari Maathai fought for the survival of forest cover in the country, a fight that earned her a Nobel Prize. It's been 2 years since the Nobel laureate passed on, and even before her memory fades, the legacy that she left behind is being ridiculed in the Ngong Forest. This is what is left of the Ngong Forest after a group of perceived investors invaded the forest to put up a project that, according to them, is worth 4 billion shillings. A project that has come at a higher price to environmentalists. The project has seen the investors cut down hundreds of trees in the forest.
We cannot be talking about developing as a nation and on the same breath talk about distracting what is being put together.
The investors are constructing a 4-phase business park, which would include shopping malls and residential homes on a 30-acre piece of land, said to be gazetted under public land, and have already completed the first phase. The investors are not willing to divulge any information on the legality of the project and their actions.
There's no document that is stating that the ownership of land has changed from private land from public land, that is forest land, to private land.
The investors have a letter to the Principal Secretary for Environment and Natural Resources claiming that the business park was officiated by former President Mwai Kibaki in 2003 and that they hold all necessary documents for the project. However, under the law, for public land to be acquired, it has to be approved by Parliament and degazetted as public property. Individuals who have tried to make this clear say they fear for their lives.
Even if anyone went to the position of eliminating me, I believe the trees will talk. You can never kill the green spirit.
This latest development now adds to the number of times that forest land has been invaded in the country, all in the name of development.
Now let's take a reminder of that BQ we asked you tonight, in which we asked, do you support the move by Parliament to pull Kenya out of the ICC? Do you support the move by Parliament to pull Kenya out of the ICC?
And remember, tonight we have a new short code. It's 22155, so you can send your comments starting with a yes or no and a brief comment after that. You can also send us your messages on Twitter. And here's one from Dorothy. You say, I support the Parliament fully, as we're not slaves of foreigners' decisions. We are a federal government. That and so much more will continue sampling them throughout this live newscast.
Well, we'll take a short break right now, but don't you go away, because right ahead